Hi guys, welcome back to At Home with Holly. My name's Holly. I'm so glad that you're here with me today. We have a kitchen project to do today. I have a turkey in my freezer, and I'm not going to be hosting Thanksgiving this year, so I don't need to have the turkey in my freezer. But I do really like having canned chicken or poultry. Chicken, turkey, canned kind of taste similar, pretty much interchangeable. So I do like to have that on my shelf, and I really like to have chicken broth on my shelf. Whenever my kid is the littlest bit not feeling well, the first thing that she asks for is a can of chicken broth, homemade chicken broth, because bone broth, because she drinks it and it makes her feel better. And so I love having that. And of course, we cook with it. I make rice with it. I do all the things. So I want to make sure that I have plenty of that. And I have about 12 jars, little pint jars left, and that's not going to do it. So I figured today's the good day to roast the turkey. So I'm going to spatchcock it, which means I'm going to lay it out flat. Roast it in the oven, can't use the meat to can it, and use the carcass to make more bone broth, which is awesome. I thawed this a couple days ago in, actually thawed it in the brine. So it's been brining and thawing, and I just put a temperature probe in there like the ones I use for my freezers to make sure it didn't get above 45 degrees as it was thawing. So it's perfectly done. And so we're going to carve it up, get it roasting, and we'll actually have the roasted turkey meat for dinner tonight, which is going to be awesome. And then we'll can the rest of it, can the broth. I'm so excited that you're here. We're doing this in and around other projects that I'm doing outside and stuff, which I'll take you guys with me for another video for that. But today's the inside stuff. So enough talking. Let's get cooking. So this is my turkey that has been brining, and I put the jar on top to make sure that it stayed underwater. And you can see I've still got some floating ice as I was keeping it cool. So I'm going to rinse this off, put it on the tray to let it start cooking. Okay, my hands are washed. The turkey's over here. I've got a separate pan that I'm going to put all the bits that we're not going to use. So like the neck. I might actually leave when you cut along the back, you can either cut out the backbone or you can just leave it flat. We'll see. We'll see. All right, I'm going to get some sharp scissors. Kitchen scissors that have not been used for craft projects. Okay. So then the other thing is I need two pieces of parchment paper. So we are going to flip this bird over, and the back is right here. Now with a chicken, this is a lot easier. With a turkey, it takes a little more oomph to get through, but with a chicken, you can cut through these bones no problem. But you might need to use a little bit of muscle to get through these. Okay, now I'm going to get this whole counter and cutting board and everything cleaned up and disinfected, and then we'll come back and season the turkey. So we have our legs and wings, we have our breast, and we have our inside parts. I'm going to end up putting them all on these two. Let me get some butter, softened butter, poultry seasoning, some gloves on. Okay, so I've got about a quarter cup of poultry seasoning, maybe a third of a cup. I've got maybe 8 tablespoons of butter, 6 or 8 tablespoons of butter. Teaspoon of salt. I'm gonna go get a little more. Maybe 2 teaspoons of salt. Some black pepper. All right, let's see what we got. We're gonna mush this up. You don't want this melted because then it's gonna, I mean, I've done it with melted, that's fine, but softened butter's better because then you can get it underneath the skin. So I'm just gonna kind of mash this butter with the poultry seasoning and the salt and the pepper. Do breast. Okay. So I'm just going to stick my finger and kind of loosen up the skin so that I can put some butter up under there. Same thing on the other side. There's a hole from where they put the thermometer in. Stick some butter up there. That. We'll put the neck over here. Those are the organs. We don't need them in roasted. Okay, so we've got our legs and neck on one. We've got our breast and back on the other. The last thing I'm going to do is cut up some onions and stick them under the meat. All of my big sharp knives are in the dishwasher right now since we used them, so I don't always cut onions with a steak knife, but when I do, it's because all the rest of them are dirty. All right, once I got these onions underneath the chicken, I went ahead and roasted this in the oven at 325. I could have roasted it higher if I wanted the crispy skin, but I wasn't looking for that. So 325 until it was done on the inside. So I actually cooked the dark meat until the thermometer was reading 160, and then I'm going to let it rest till it gets to 165. I pulled those out, and then the breast meat wasn't quite done yet, so I left that in for another few minutes until it came up to temperature as well. I like to pull mine out when they are right around 160. That way they rest and get to 165. Then we'll tent it with some foil. Tent it with some foil, we'll let it rest. It's not really tightly wrapped, just kind of tented. We'll let it rest for about 5-10 minutes and then, or more, because I got other stuff to do. And then once it's cool enough to touch, I will cut off like a breast and maybe a little bit of dark meat for half a breast or something for dinner tonight. And then I will take the rest of it, remove it from the bone so that it can be all jarred up. So we enjoyed having this turkey for dinner, and then I decided to take the rest of it and go ahead and pull it off the bone. So first I carved up all the dark meat. It's a lot easier to sometimes just pull it off. So I went ahead and pulled it off the bone as much as I could, left that in a container, and then I did the same thing with the breasts. I removed the breasts from the carcass, and then I sliced and diced those up and put all of that into a Tupperware container. We did eat that and have some leftovers for the next day or so. So that was really lovely to have. But I wanted to get all of the meat off of the carcass so that I could throw the wings, the bones, all of the onions that we roasted it, and then actually a few extra onions into the pot, and then go ahead and fill it with water to the top and get that going so that we could cook this down. So this has been boiling. We started off with it at 16 quarts. It's down to about 11 quarts. It's been simmering like this for almost 24 hours. It tastes amazing. So I'm gonna skim out the bones and then let it cool a little bit so we can work with it. So I'm trying to work smarter, not harder. So first I took all of the bones out and I left the bones and all the meat on tray so that it could start to cool off a little bit. And then at the same time, I had the broth actually going through a nutbag strainer so we could get out all those little pieces of herbs or any little bits that I might have missed through running it through a colander. So that takes a lot longer. So as it was straining, I went ahead and picked off any meat off the bones in big chunks that I could. And then I went ahead and got my pressure canner going with the first round of bone broth. And then I went ahead and cleaned up the kitchen a little bit, reset, and then I kept going as it was straining. And I actually added the diced turkey meat to some jars, topped that off with our yummy broth, and then I used the rest of the broth that I had to make the third round to go into the canner. Look at all the things we made. So we have 1, 2, 3, we have 7 pints of diced turkey in broth, and we have 2, 4, 6, 8, 10 pints and 4 half pints. Technically there were 11 pints, but Olivia drank 1 already. We love broth, and so she wanted to try the turkey broth. She said it was the best batch yet. So we got a lot of stuff made, and we also were able to have a yummy turkey dinner. So we made really good use of that turkey. I want to thank you guys so much for hanging with me today and yesterday while we roasted the turkey, made the turkey, actually 3 days now. We roasted the turkey, made the turkey, canned it all up. So I just want to thank you guys so much for all the likes and the comments and the shares. If you haven't subscribed, please consider subscribing. We have a whole lot more growing and cooking and preserving and projects and fun things going on. So can't wait to see you guys next time. Bye, my friend.